The dust had barely settled on the lonely back road when Clare stumbled into the sunlight, breathless, shaking, and desperate enough to run toward the very men the town whispered warnings about. Motorcycles glinted in the heat, steel beasts resting beside leather-clad giants, but none of them looked as terrifying as the man chasing her, her ex, red-faced, furious, and closing in like a storm she had spent years trying to outrun. And then she crashed straight into the chest of a man they called a Hell Angel, a man whose reputation alone could still a room. But nothing could have prepared her or the onlookers for what he did next. If you believe in kindness, redemption, or second chances, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. For a moment, time froze. Clare didn't register the strong arm steadying her, or the deep voice murmuring something meant to calm her. All she could feel was terror burning beneath her skin, terror that had held her captive long before her feet ever touched that dirt road. She had left her ex months ago, but he had never learned the meaning of the word leave. Each day had been a new attempt to yank her back into the life she had barely escaped. Calls at midnight, threats disguised as apologies, promises of changed behavior followed by rage that made her flinch even in her sleep. Today, he finally found her. Today, she ran. The man holding her, massive, tattooed, and seemingly carved from stone, looked down at her with a steadiness she had forgotten existed in the world. His leather vest read Angels, a name that sparked fear in town gossip, the kind that came with rumors of bar fights, roaring engines, and men who answered to their own laws. But his eyes held something entirely different, a question, a concern, a silent recognition of someone cornered. She tried to explain, but her words tangled with panic. Still, he seemed to understand everything without needing to hear a single thing. When her ex stormed toward them, shouting her name with the entitlement of someone who believed she still belonged to him, the angel simply shifted. It wasn't dramatic at first, just a step between her and the man who had broken her spirit piece by piece, a step that said, "You don't get to hurt her anymore." The ex raged on, his voice cracking with the anger of a man who felt control slipping from his fingers. Clare felt her knees weaken as she clung to the angel's vest like an anchor in a storm. She didn't know this man, didn't know his story, didn't know why he chose to stand up for her, but for the first time in months, she felt safe. Truly, unbelievably safe. The growing crowd of bikers watched silently, not one of them moving or shouting. The entire world seemed to lean in, waiting. When her ex finally reached them, chest heaving, face twisted, he jabbed a finger toward her and demanded she come back with him. The angel didn't yell, didn't push, didn't even threaten. All he did was wrap an arm around her shoulder with a quiet protectiveness that cut sharper than any blade, and shake his head once. Slow, deliberate, final. That single gesture silenced the entire dirt lot. What followed wasn't a fight, though Clare was sure her ex had come ready for one. It was something far more unnerving for him. It was calmness. The angel's quiet refusal, the collective stillness of his brothers, the lack of fear in their eyes. Her ex realized, perhaps for the first time, that he held no power here. None at all. The fury drained from him. The bluster turned to trembling, and he stepped backward, stumbling over his own defeat before finally turning around and disappearing down the road. When the dust settled again, Clare found herself trembling in the angel's arms, not from fear this time, but from release. She felt something break open inside her, something long trapped beneath years of walking on eggshells. The angel didn't ask her to explain. He didn't push her to relive her trauma. He led her to a seat by the porch, offered her water, and sat nearby. Not hovering, not crowding, just present. Present in a way no one had been for her in far too long. As the sun dipped lower, painting the sky gold and amber, Clare slowly found the strength to speak. She told him pieces of her story, not all of it, just enough. Enough for him to understand why her shoulders curled inward and why her eyes kept scanning the horizon. He listened with a patience that contradicted everything she had heard about men like him. When she finally whispered that she didn't know what to do next, he looked at her with steady determination, and simply told her she wasn't alone anymore. And the surprising thing was, she believed him. Over the next days, word spread across town like wildfire. People talked because small towns always talk. But what surprised them most wasn't the confrontation, it was the transformation. The tough, intimidating biker was suddenly seen fixing the porch steps of the safe house where Claire was staying. He was quietly checking the locks, making sure she had food, giving her space while being close enough that she no longer flinched each time she heard a truck passing by. The angels, infamous for their own rough edges, treated her with a gentleness that softened every story ever told about them. But the biggest change happened inside Claire. Slowly she began to breathe again, to sit outside without scanning for danger, to sleep through the night, to remember what laughter sounded like when it wasn't forced. The angel, whose name she eventually learned but whose presence she felt long before, never asked for anything in return. He simply showed her what respect looked like, what peace felt like, what it meant to have someone stand beside you, not above you. And that was what silenced the whole town. Not fear, but awe. Awe that compassion could come from the most unexpected place. Awe that someone people had judged for his patches, his ink, his leather could be. The very person to lift a shattered woman back to her feet. Awe that redemption wasn't something shouted, it was something lived, shown, offered in the quiet moments no one saw. By the time Claire found her strength again, she did something she never thought she'd do. She chose to stay, not because she needed protection anymore, but because she had rediscovered her freedom, her voice, her courage, and she wanted to build a life where those things mattered. If this story moved you even a little, please like, comment, and subscribe. You never know how much a simple click might help this channel reach someone who needs to hear a story of hope. Before you go, comment below. Strength grows in the places we heal. And remember, sometimes the most unexpected arms are the ones that save us.